As you're all well aware by now, Don't Starve Together has 4 distinct seasons that you have to surmount, much like in real life. Autumn, winter, spring, and then summer. They're as much of a part of the game as the whole not starving part. And so, I thought it's about time I do a challenge where I restrict myself to just one season. That season? Well, as you can gauge from the title of the video, is Hurricane Season. Wait, what? Oh yeah, I should have mentioned this. I'll be surviving the shipwrecked world this time, and therefore have 4 different seasons to choose from. Them being Mild, Hurricane, Monsoon, and Dry Season. And yes, I'm doing all of this in Don't Starve Together, courtesy of the Island Adventures mod. It's been a short while since I last dabbled with this mod, so I'm excited to see what improvements have been made since our last visit to the golden shores of Shipwrecked. Hurricane Season is the shipwrecked parallel to the winter we're all well aware of from the standard world. Only difference is, well, pretty much everything. It's not as cold as winter, but instead hostile in its own catastrophic ways. We're going to become very accustomed to what the season holds, so without further hesitation, let's hop in and see if you can survive during a permanent hurricane. Rules will be simple, starting season will be Hurricane Season, and it will last forever. For this little vacation, I'm going to be playing as Walter. I'm not the biggest Walter fan personally, much like everybody else, but I feel like his ranged approach to combat will come in very handy when out at sea. The Island Adventure mod we're using also adds a few new ammo types and tweaks to Walter that actually make him kind of really great. We'll be going into more details about these features when they present themselves. Now, without further ado, that might be a bit redundant at this point. Oh well, it's not going to stop me from making the exact same joke for any future season restricted challenges. Expect it. Huh? Oh, yeah, this took multiple attempts. This challenge is uncompromising. Spawning in as Walter, things look calm for the time being, except the weird terrain generation on our starting island. Hurricane Season isn't a constant suffering, no. The way it works is that there is a hurricane that passes over the isles in a sequence, so one day can be calm, and then the winds and storms increase in intensity up to a peak, and then it will drop back down to being somewhat calm again. Since this world is nothing but hurricanes, they'll just wax and wane constantly. That basically means we have a very small time limit to tick the boxes of survival. The first box of survival, as I like to call it, is light. Nighttime will kill you if you've ever seen this game before, and it just so happens during a hurricane, all conventional sources of light will be blown out incredibly fast. No campfires or torches will survive even a segment when things start to ramp up. Instead, we'll need a structure that pretty much requires a science machine to build. The next box is food. Food is already a harder thing to reliably find early on in Shipwrecked, since you spend more time travelling the land with slower tech progression, so things like crockpots and fridges ain't typically your day one purchase. Once again, we'll need science to get things like that. We will be able to get by eating limpets, coconuts, and the rare berry we find, but it won't last too long. After that, dryness and warmth. Hurricane Season never typically drops low enough in temperature to induce freezing. However, that doesn't mean you're safe from the torrential rain soaking your clothes completely, which will then freeze you. Most early game sources of wetness protection do absolutely nothing against a hurricane. And yep, you guessed it, to make decent clothing for the job, we need science. Finally, lightning protection. I'm going to keep this one short since you'll see what I mean later, but lightning during a hurricane is absolutely the biggest threat we're going to face. All in all, everything we need to progress forward requires science, which in sequence will require gold. And guess what material is uncommon in shipwrecked worlds? That's right, gold. So we're forced to use way too much fuel in our campfires in a single night, forced to dance between heat sources in a vain attempt to dry off, forced to pray to the gods above they don't smite us down until we can get just one gold nugget. So can you guess how our first run went? Yeah, it wasn't pretty. We got incredibly unlucky, not finding gold in time, exhausting island after island for simple things like wood and grass to keep us just scraping by, until our untimely demise. Let's not worry about that too much. This run was just me getting my bearings. Now for the real deal. Hopefully. So now that we have our game plan, it's time to put it into action. We start on day 1, rushing to get all we can before we wither away. Logs, grass, twigs, flint, bamboo, reeds, me oh my. Wobi is great for our early game survival simply for the storage capacity benefit. Backpacks are not an instant thing in Shipwrecked, and with all these additional materials, inventory slots are sacred. Hammers are also extra use for early game in Shipwrecked too, since a lot of the time you'll find crates and such washed up on the shore that give you boards and sometimes other miscellaneous crafting materials. Not enough to break the bank, but it saves us time chopping down trees when we need them. Alongside this, I do chop the odd palm tree to get coconuts and logs, the latter of which I can make into a raft and get off this island around dusk. Remember, it's a race against the clock to find gold. I touched down on a new island near the end of day 1, needing to set up a campfire to survive the long first night. The winds have already started to pick up, so this fire won't last long at all. I have to dump a lot of materials in this thing to keep it lit enough for day 2. This island really didn't have much in the way of what we needed. Lots of twigs and grass, which I end up always hurting for this entire challenge, as well as a concussion thanks to a loose coconut. With that though, I do find a couple of boulders, both standard and gold bearing ones. This is a great find. Really great actually. Most of the time in Shipwreck you're lucky to find even one of these things within the first week, but I got lucky and found a bunch of them, giving me enough gold to make a science machine when I need it. As you can see, the hurricane is pulling in fast. Strong winds are pushing us around and hailstone is falling from the sky. Things are going to get real nasty real fast if we don't get shelter. Oh, and food might help too, since I'm not particularly in the best state. I set up a fire pit and a science machine down on the island I found the gold on. It seemed big enough and had a nice variety of everything. The fire pit isn't holding the best against this hurricane, but it's somewhat better than a campfire at least. Since I can't really venture too far from my quote-unquote base, I spend a very long night gathering what resources I can to keep the fire lit. However, things ain't gonna be easy for us. The hurricane is now right above us, and with it, lightning is striking all around us every few seconds. We have zero ways to insulate ourselves from it, or even redirect it. We get struck by it multiple times, as well as the environment around us. I used the hail from the storm to extinguish fires to keep my base from going up in smoke. My health is low, the fire is out, things are looking incredibly grim for us. More loose bolts of lightning and I'm toast, but we managed to see the light of day 3, and I have to make a mad dash to make a lightning rod. I got the rocks needed, but not the gold. Thankfully there's a gold boulder right next to my base, but I have no pickaxe to mine it, so that means I have to run to the nearby beach, getting struck by lightning once more, bringing me even closer to death. Thankfully, I was able to get the twigs, make the pickaxe, mine the boulder, get the gold and bam. My base and my hide is now safe from lightning strikes, as long as I stayed near here. That was intense. The hurricane isn't over yet though, and I need more materials and food. Being this close to death's door ain't desirable, funnily enough. I decided to get 2 birds with 1 stone and chop down the trees in the area. They can sometimes give you food, which will give us crumbs of HP for survival. As well as this, they can also drop snakes. But don't you worry, because in this mod, Walter can shoot coconuts out of his slingshot, doing a whopping 51 damage, as well as halving the coconut in the process. That's like 3 birds with 1 stone. Food for us, and damage for them. For now, my main plan is to just stay alive by any means necessary. The hurricane will pass eventually, giving me time to recoup. For that though, I'll probably need to dry off a little bit. The wetness is going to make me freeze and drain my sanity at a rapid pace, unless I can take care of it. I want to see about making a palm leaf umbrella, but as you can see, ain't much help at all. Thankfully though, the hurricane has abided. For now. We've got a few days left now of breathing room to sort ourselves out. Wetness protection, lightning insulation, and food like always are at the top of our list for the few safe days we have. With the boards I got from the washed up crates everywhere, I was able to make a proper boat instead of that cruddy little raft. And my first step was to explore a little bit, both the island and around it. Relocating any berry bushes I can find is always a great source of food, but man are they rare in Shipwreck. Only 2 on my entire island, so I had to travel a bit to find something? Anything really. I grabbed myself a bit of coral. This stuff is magical. It can be turned into limestone, which is one of the most versatile things in the entire expansion. The main thing we need it for though? A chiminea. Chimnea? This thing is like a fire pit, but it's immune to flooding and hostile winds. That's one of our main issues finally ticked off the list. Anyway, I was able to get my stuff up slightly from the odd banana and egg that fell from the trees during my little lumbering adventures. It's better than nothing. As well as that, I was able to crack a few coconuts over a snake's head to get his skin. This can be used to make snakeskin hats, an item we needed honestly yesterday. It gives you very high rain protection, as well as immunity to lightning and other electrical based attacks. For it though, we'll need an alchemy engine, so that was our next main goal. Once again, proving why Walter is an S tier pick for this challenge, he's able to make limestone rounds. These are the alternative to marble rounds in this expansion. They do really good damage, even more so at things at sea, and also are crafted in batches of 15 instead of 10. Combined with how easy limestone is to get, this makes the slingshot a worthwhile investment this time around. I embark around the sea on day 6, finding this volcanic beach biome. This place is filled with gold, in the form of both boulders and rock piles. So after doming a couple of snakes, I scoop up as much gold as my little hands can carry before sailing back home overnight, arriving at day 7. As well as me arriving, I was also privy to a horde of... it was a single crocodile. These things are the hounds of Shipwrecked, except they can swim. Hounds can swim too, Ash, you know this. And be stun-locked, and are therefore way easier to deal with. Fun fact, I never make a spear this playthrough, since I either just use my slingshot or stun-lock them with a machete. With the gold and a little extra resources I gather around home, I was able to make the alchemy engine. This will open up our options for stuff to make now. To make our snakeskin hat, we'll need bone shards and a straw hat. Sadly for us though, grass is a bit of a luxury, so we need to gather as much as we can, when we can. I spend the rest of the day resourcing and... oh yeah, I made wood flooring. Yeah, I know, great thing to do when the hurricane pulls into our base. I also remember I can tell stories around a fireplace to gain sanity as Walter, which is constantly being drained since I'm heavily injured. No matter, day 8 rolls around like clockwork. I'll trawl the island getting some resources for a crockpot, as I stumble across a skeleton. Smashing that old mate up, I get the bone shards I need to make my snakeskin hat. All I need now is a straw hat. But again, our grass is limited right now, so mid-hurricane, I run around the beach getting all the grass I can and need. As well as this, I make a chest, since I can't just leave stuff on the ground at all, or they'll end up in the next country over. With the hurricane once more fading off into the distance, I'm able to make my snakeskin hat. Not the best timing, but now that we have this, things are going to be way easier for us. No longer having to worry about death by smiting and sopping. Oh, remember how I said that the hat protects us from other electricity-based attacks too? That extends to picking up the corpses of dead jellyfish. Somehow. And jellyfish are an amazing food source. One of the best. Combined with our ability to take them down from a range, I think we solved our food problem too. Sure, it's a bit naughty, but who cares? What was I going on about? Oh yeah, right, food. Limpets, jellyfish, dogfish, all good stuff. In fact, cooked jellyfish offers a decent amount of healing. Enough to start to pull our health back out of the insta-kill range. But right now, since we're struggling on twigs most of the time, I'm moving saplings closer to the base. Something you always do in DST, but double so now since half the time they get blown away if I'm not fast enough. As well as that, I work my way through the night getting bamboo and vines. They're used to make pretty much everything, so I always end up harvesting during what little downtime I can afford during these long nights. Our berry farm isn't the best right now. Like I said, berry bushes are so hard to come across in Shipwrecked unless you get lucky and find Berry Island, which we may or may not find some point soon. Ooh! I finally decided to sort myself out and make a backpack all the way on day 10. Sheesh, the start of this challenge was so rough I could barely spare the time or the resources to make a simple backpack. What a challenge this has been so far, huh? Remember, by the way, if you like challenges like this and would like to see more, remember to subscribe, drop a comment, join the Discord, and let me know what you'd like to see. I'm already dreading the monsoon challenge, spare me. Shilling over, I was able to make a crock pot for cooking up all this food, and a proper canvas sail from the cloth I found from smashing up crates. Now we can sail much faster and hands-free. As well as this, I put some palm fronds I found to use and made a shelter. This thing gives you 100% wetness protection, so now we can dry off fully in our own base. We're slowly but surely climbing our way out of this cursed season. Another box ticked. Despite it being such a primitive structure, it for some reason needed the alchemy engine. Oh well, Day 11 was filled with such important activities such as stealing Meadows turf and the occasional berry bush, as well as performing a small-scale massacre on the jellyfish population. Teehee. So let's just skip on over to Day 12. As well as getting more materials on land, including some pigskin from the boarheads, I wanted to get more coral. I remembered at this point you can always hammer mined limestone outcroppings to get limestone, as well as a coral nubbin. This essentially lets you grow coral anywhere you want. Such an incredibly cool feature. Coral is like what marble should be. Take note, marble. I mine as many nubbins as I can before I sail on home, using the lightning from yet another hurricane to keep Charlie at bay. This would be really cool if it wasn't so intimidating. Thank heavens above though that we made that snakeskin hat, or would be dead 10 times over at this point. I get my nubbins, I love that word, planted as close as I can to my base. Now we got a slow but steady production of coral right at our doorstep. Nifty. I also spruced up the base a little bit with the meadow turf that I found, since a happy base is a happy ash. Oh, I also made myself a football helmet out of the pigskin we got. Like I mentioned earlier, inventory space is too dear to give up in Shipwrecked, so head slot items are our best choice for anything. I wrap up the day by placing little walls in the corner of the wooden planks on our base. No reason at all, don't worry about it. Look, if you know, you know. Welcome to Day 14. This is really starting to turn out to be quite a pleasant little experience, as long as you ignore, you know, that. I feel like once we're fully situated, things are going to be as easy as a regular playthrough. I mean, that's the main appeal of challenges like this. Changing the early game is the most fun to me, hence why I like starting in spring occasionally. Maybe I should try starting in other seasons at some point too. An idea for another day, I feel. I sail around some more, exploring a bit, and finding a ship graveyard. If I had a fishing rod, I could dig up this for loot, but alas, I found the fishing rod on the first playthrough, and that's dust by now. I continue to sail around a bit more until I run across a floaty boaty knight. Despite having a silly name, these guys are your main and pretty much only source of gears on the map. They use a ranged coconut bombardment attack that can wreck your boat. Thankfully, we're Walter and can fight them at range 2 with our high damaging limestone rounds. I only take out one of them for now since there's a crocodile on the way. We get our gears and scarper till they turn up and proceed to get owned like always. The only hard thing about these guys are the noise they make when you hurt them. Oh. With these gears, you bet I was able to make a fridge, all the way on Day 14. Yeah, Shipwrecked has a much slower progression than the standard Don't Starve, but I love it for that. Gears being rare makes your early game food game more about picking what you can, instead of just hoarding it all, and I think that's great. I'm pretty sure the only place you can find floaty boaty knights naturally is one set piece in the entire map. And besides that, they spawn in slowly over time if you kill things, like sea cops. That's beside the point. It's Day 15 and we found ourselves Berry Island, the sacred land. It's just a regular island, but for some reason absolutely chock-a-block filled with berry bushes. Over 20. Our pitiful little berry farm is pitiful no more. Before we can get home though, we find a message in a bottle. These reveal treasure on the map and are always worth seeking out. You can find some insanely good stuff in these, so it's good to put these high on our list of things to do. But so is smashing crates. I like these too. I also find the Terraria chest. Don't forget, this is still Don't Starve Together. So I ignore the obvious trap that this is and snag myself a terrarium as well as some fireflies, which are honestly incredibly rare in Shipwreck. Will we fight the Eye of Terror in this playthrough? Well, I can say for certain that we don't in this video, sorry gang, but maybe in the future? I arrive back home when the moon kisses the sand and use the calm night to plant all those berry bushes that I got. Gonna need a lot of fertilizer to keep it healthy, but the occasional rot and poop from nearby monkey will help with that. But right before the sun rises, I go and find the buried treasure we found in that bottled map, and score ourselves a cheeky bit of loot. Gears, gems, gold, and best of all, boards from breaking the chest. On Day 17 I swing back for some unfinished business. That's right, these guys. I take out the rest of the floaty boaty knights and score the rest of their gears. Seriously cannot stress how good Walter is in Shipwrecked thanks to his slingshot. Incredible. As well as their gears, I get the stuff that they were guarding too, which is a skeleton and yet another loot map. Bone shards are really useful, especially since they used to make rain gear, so we grab all we can get. I tack back over to the island I dug up the treasure at to get some more gold and rocks since it was one of those cool volcanic beach biomes. Gold went from being really rare to an abundance really quick. With all that said and done, another hurricane was starting to pull up, so I hopped back on my trusty dusty little boat and sailed on home once more. Another day, another hurricane. These things ain't so bad now that we have almost full rain protection, lightning immunity, and an infinite food source. But damn if the atmosphere isn't amazing despite all of that. There's still a few curveballs this season can throw at us, one that you're probably all too familiar with at this point. We're crossing that bridge when we get to it. I upgraded my base a little bit with some extra chests before sailing out to fight a couple of bees. Not the easiest thing to fight as Walter with his bee weakness, but hey, we get it done and score some stingers. Why did we need stingers? To make boat repair kits, of course. The ones we found in crates are long gone by this point, and having a way to patch up our boat is really useful to have. However, there is a better way to keep our boat repaired. For that, we're going to need some tar. I did find a tar slick out at sea a few days ago and made a mental note of it. We can't scoop that stuff up with our bare hands, and we'll need a tar extractor for that, which I was able to make with ample resources we have lying around. So under the guise of night, I scoot on over and plop it down on the slick. This will slowly give us tar over time, which is useful for so many things. You'll see when we get some. Gotta check up on this later though. Come day 20, I decided I wanted to do some Oh hey, it's this guy. There's a sea cop waiting by my boat. Floaty boating nights will often slowly spawn in over time at crime scenes, aka places where sea creatures were killed. Oh well, that just means free gears for us. Anyway, I want to do some trawl fishing. This is like treasure hunting, but most of the time you get garbage. I swing on by the tar extractor to get a little bit of it, as well as scooping up some bioluminescence to recharge my boat lantern, as well as these cool rainbow jellies. What am I going to use these for? Well, if I make a fish scale-o-matic out of some ice that fell from the sky, I can put a rainbow jellyfish in there, and shazam! This thing will now emit cool rainbow lights, I think forever. A pretty and functional part of the base. I want to set these up everywhere so I don't have to bumble around in the dark when arriving home after a trip. I absolutely adore how this mod has adapted modern DST features to good old-fashioned shipwrecked ones. I pop another visit to the tar extractor to get a pinch more of it. I used one of them yesterday to recharge my fireplace, since one dollop of tar is enough to fully stoke a fire. One of its many amazing uses. But whilst I'm around here, I get into a tussle with a swordfish. Nothing too hard to top, and we're rewarded with, well, the swordfish itself. Fans of Shipwrecked already know why this thing is great. We'll get to that. After witnessing this, I once more head back to my place. But on the way there, I end up getting farted on by a stink ray and are now poisoned. Well, let's ignore that for this moment, since when we get home, I turn the swordfish into a Cutlass Supreme. Literally the best weapon in the game. Easy to craft and massive damage. Lovely jubbly. Oh, we also get a crocodile attack, but don't worry about that. We're poisoned right now. And as you can expect, poison sucks. It slowly drains our HP over time, so dealing with it sooner before it can ramp up in intensity is our main goal. We're going to need venom glands for that. Practically any venomous creature can drop these, so we, under the guise of a hurricane, head to a stink ray patch and take them out incredibly easy with our slingshot. With the glands, we can simply eat them now to take a massive HP hit but cure our poison, or refine it into an antidote with some seaweed and coral. We got plenty of materials, so we craft our antidote and our blood is once more clean. I end up making another fish scale-o-matic so we can display the other rainbow jelly we caught. Look how nice our base looks, considering the whole hurricane thing. I love it. Come morn of the next day, I head up around the island to find some poop caught up by the sea. Must have been blown around by the wind. Good for our berries, which are slowly but surely becoming fertilized. I swing on by the tar extractor as well to get another batch of tar. Fun fact, you can just fuel the tar extractor with the tar that it harvests to keep it running for free, forever, as long as you visit it. With the tar and some extra limestone, I'm able to make the sea yard. This will repair any boats moored near it with the tar that it's fueled with. And since tar is, aforementioned, free and easy to get, not a problem at all. Such a lovely little structure to have, saving boat repair kits for combat situations instead of regular maintenance. On day 24, I decided to just sail around for a bit. Nothing too remarkable happened today other than the usual sailing and jellyfish murdering. Food is never an issue now, and to think I was worried about it. I do end up sailing far and wide to find another chest, and inside the chest were treated some monkey tail reeds. Yep, the mod Island Adventures adds a way to get DST items in Shipwrecked. How cool is that? God, you'd think the mod authors would be paying me at this point. I wish. After a couple more days of exploring and gathering to no particular milestone, we end up on day 26. On this day, I decided to finally grab a bunch of grass tufts and move them closer to base. Our twig situation has been sorted for a long time, so it's only fair we do the same for grass. With all of this grass, I'm able to make a couple of drying racks. I'll need more over time, of course, but funnily enough, these things still work even if the wind is coming at us sideways, though the rain will slow them down like always, however. We're drying jellyfish on these racks since they're easy to get in massive numbers, and dried jellyfish is a decent healing item. We're gonna need a decent healing item for what's coming soon, trust me. On day 28, while scavenging, we're privy to another crocodile attack. This one is even easier than the last thanks to our sick Cutlass Supreme. Need I remind you I never make a spear in this playthrough? This is why. After that little endeavour, on our way home I happened to notice some poop lying by one of the monkey dens, as well as the one-man band, but that's not as important. Look at how much poop we got from one pile, almost 24. Just to keep our bushes and grass tufts healthy. This seems almost planted. Promise you it's not. Look at our base now. Lots of luscious bushes, drying racks making us plenty of food. Heck, I even made multiple crockpots to keep up with the amount of food we're getting. It's insane how I went from eating raw limpets and seaweed to having this funny looking but comfy base with all the amenities I need. Heck, I barely even notice the hurricanes anymore. But I do notice buried treasure. Ignoring the ambush of snakes this one was hiding, we score ourselves... Oh, is that it? Never mind then. Day 30! Yeah, like I mentioned yesterday, the hurricanes are a small nuisance now. We've landed our boots firmly on that plateau of stability I hark on about in previous videos. Our base is shiny, able to provide for us exactly what we need when we need it, and as long as we remember to wear our snakeskin hat, the storms have next to no effect on us. There's not a whole lot that can move us anymore, except... oh no. This guy! It's Sealnado. I was wondering when you would turn up. I was dreading this amazing boss the entire playthrough, but it looks like no matter when you start, he'll always turn up on day 30 like always. This guy is not to be taken lightly. With his high damaging punches and potentially insta-kill suck attack, we have to be extra careful when fighting him. Or alternatively, we brute force it with football helmets, Cutlass Supremes, and jellyfish jerky I spent all season accumulating. Still gotta dodge the big suck attack though. So we tear into it, over and over, stopping only to avoid his big attack and heal. With our helmet literally one hit away from destruction, we fell the beastie. Well, almost. Yeah, of course I'm not going to kill the seal. I'm not a monster. Sure, it tried to kill me, but it was the evil turbine blades, honest. We don't need to kill the seal anyway. Sure, it will give us a bit of meat and summon Krampus, but it'll also do a lot of psychological damage to me. So we just walk away and come back, and he's left his seal for us. Thanks, seal. With that though, that's Sealnado. Not the easiest giant to deal with, but not the worst either. From him we're able to get the propeller, which we can jam on the end of our boat for maximum speed. We also get the magical seal, did you get it, that we can use for some magic wind controlling properties another time. To help recruit from that fight, I remember, Walter can make tents, and darn good tents at that as well. I sleep in it overnight to get my stats back up, and from that, tending to day 32. And then day 33. And then day 34. There's not much else to say really. I think we've more than answered the question of, can you survive during Infinite Hurricane? After a rocky start, you absolutely can. Sure, things are hostile, but as long as you have all the boxes ticked, it's smooth-ish sailing. I think I'm going to end the video here for now though. If you'd like for me to continue this world, then please let me know. It's been an absolute blast like always. There's still plenty for us to do, but as it looks now, it will be not too much different from a regular Shipwrecked world, just a smidge windier. What a trip that was though. Thank you all so much for watching if you made it this far. Big shout out to everybody, supporters, viewers, you guys all rock. Remember to check out the mod too, absolutely phenomenal. For now, I'll be seeing you guys whenever I see you. Take care everybody.